I was thrown in a nursing home by my son. The door locked from the outside. He didn't look back. My own flesh and blood delivered me to this tomb with walls the color of forgotten things. He smiled when they took my suitcase. His eyes were empty when he promised this was temporary. I knew it was a life sentence. They took my clothes the first day. They gave me polyester that smelled of bleach and surrender. They took my wedding ring for safekeeping. They took my dignity with casual efficiency. I became room 14, bed B. A body to be turned, a chart to be marked, nothing more. David visited once a week. He brought magazines he knew I wouldn't read. He talked about his new sports car, his vacation home, his life expanding as mine contracted to this single room. He never touched me. His eyes would scan me, calculating. I could see the math in his head. How much longer? How much cost? I was an expense, a depreciating asset. The night nurse was different. Her name was Anya. She had hands that didn't bruise, eyes that saw me, not the diagnosis. She was from a country that no longer existed on maps. She understood displacement. She understood loss. When she washed my face, she didn't rush. When she spoke, she didn't shout. In this place of shouted condescension, her quiet respect was revolutionary. I watched for 3 weeks. I saw the day nurse steal jewelry from Mrs. Rosen in 12A. I heard the administrator cut the medication budget because they won't know the difference. I was not confused. I was not senile. I was a captive gathering evidence. Every cruelty, every theft, every lie, I cataloged them all. My mind, sharpened by 40 years of real estate negotiations, was now a weapon in a room that smelled of urine and despair. David came on a Tuesday with a stranger in a suit. The man's smile was thin and legal. They sat at the small table in my room. David placed papers before me. A new will, a power of attorney. The will gave him everything. The house Robert and I built, the business I grew from nothing, the investments. The power of attorney let him control it all while I still breathed. It let him sell my life before I was cold. "Just a formality, Mother," David said. His voice was smooth oil. "For your protection." I looked at the documents. I looked at my son. I saw his future in his hungry eyes. He would sell my home. He would liquidate my business. He would spend my money on faster cars and younger women. He would erase me completely. The last trace of Margaret Vane would be a signature on a document that buried her alive. My hands shook, but not from fear, from a cold, gathering fury so pure it felt like clarity. I let my voice crack. "I don't understand all this." "You don't need to," David said impatiently. "Just sign. I'm your son. I'll take care of everything." I picked up the pen. I made my signature wobble. I made it weak. I signed away my life to my smiling executioner. David's relief was a physical wave. He didn't thank me. He patted my hand like I was a dog, a good dog, an obedient dog. He left with the lawyer. Their laughter echoed down the hall. They were celebrating. The old woman was handled. The fortune was secured. The moment their footsteps faded, I stopped shaking. I sat perfectly still. The performance was over. The real work began. I pressed the call button. Anya entered, concern on her face. "I need you to do something," I said, my voice now steady cold. "No questions." She nodded. "Go to the front desk. Say you need to get a special medication for me. Take this." I pressed a folded $100 bill into her hand. "Take a cab to this address." I gave her a slip of paper, hidden in my Bible. "Ask for Charles. Tell him the vault is open. Bring back what he gives you." She didn't hesitate. She left. I waited. The clock ticked. Each second was a hammer on the coffin David was building for me. I didn't feel anger anymore. I felt strategy. I felt the clean, sharp lines of a perfect counterattack. Anya returned an hour later, breathless. She slipped a thick envelope under my sheets. She said, "He said it's ready. He said to tell you it's time." I waited until midnight. The hall was silent. The only light was the red glow of the exit sign. I opened the envelope. Inside was a single document. A codicil to my will, dated 5 years ago, signed and notarized the week after Robert's funeral. It stated that if I was ever placed in long-term care against my will, my entire estate would freeze. All assets would transfer to a blind trust. Any new wills would be invalid. It required a competency hearing to overturn. I had signed it when David's eyes first turned cold, when his love first became a calculation. David had just committed fraud. He had tricked an incapacitated woman into signing documents, except I wasn't incapacitated, and the document he tricked me into signing was worthless. The real will, this will, had already been activated the moment he locked me in this room. But protection wasn't enough. Defense wasn't the goal. Annihilation was. I looked at Anya sleeping in the chair. She was studying for her nursing exam. The textbook was open on her lap. She sent money home to a sister in Poland. She worked double shifts. She was kind in a world that rewarded cruelty. She was everything David was not. An idea formed. Not an idea, a revelation. Anya, I whispered. Her eyes opened instantly. She was always alert. How would you like to be my daughter? She stared. I don't understand. Legal adoption, adult adoption, it would make you my next of kin. It would make you my heir. It would give you everything David thinks he just stole. Her breath caught. You're serious? Deadly serious. He gets nothing. You get everything. The house, the business, the money, all of it. Why? She breathed. Why me? Because you see me. He only sees what I'm worth. You are a person of value. He is a parasite of value. This isn't charity. This is justice. Tears filled her eyes, not tears of joy, tears of recognition. She saw the scale of what I was offering. She saw the nuclear retaliation I was planning. What do I need to do? She asked, her voice steady now. Tomorrow you will call Charles. You will tell him to start 2 proceedings. First, to nullify the documents I signed today. Second, to file adoption papers, Margaret Vane adopting Anya Petrova. She nodded slowly. And your sons? I smiled. It felt strange on my face, a forgotten expression. My son will watch a stranger inherit his birthright. He will watch a nurse become his mother's daughter. He will beg, he will threaten, he will lose, and he will know with absolute certainty that his mother was not a weak old woman to be discarded. She was the architect of his ruin. I took her hand. Her skin was warm, alive. I said, "Say yes." She looked at our joined hands. She looked at the photograph of Robert and I, young and fierce, standing before the first building we ever owned. Builders, creators, not victims. She said, yes. The word hung in the dark room. A contract, a covenant, a declaration of war. Outside, the world slept. David slept in my house, in my bed, dreaming of the money he thought was his. He did not know that in a locked room in a forgotten wing of a nursing home, his mother had just rewritten the future. She had chosen a new heir. She had forged a new family. The old will was dead. The new will was being written in the silent understanding between 2 women wronged by the world. One young, one old, both fighters. The papers would be filed in the morning. The lawyers would move. The mechanism was now in motion. David thought he had won. He thought the game was over. He didn't know the game hadn't even begun. The papers were filed at 9:01 a.m. Charles had opened the courthouse doors himself. The adoption petition, the motion to nullify the fraudulent will, 2 silent bombs placed in the legal system, ticking toward my son's oblivious heart. Anya made the call from the payphone in the lobby. Her hands didn't shake. Her voice was clear. It is done, she told me, her eyes holding mine. We were co-conspirators now, sisters in arms, the nurse and the prisoner. I nodded. Now we wait. David visited that afternoon. He brought flowers, cheap daisies from the grocery store, the first flowers he'd ever given me. The gesture was so transparent it was pathetic. He was the new owner of my life, checking on his property. How are you feeling, Mother? He used the word like a title, not a term of endearment. Clearer, I said, meeting his gaze, much clearer. He didn't like that. He wanted me fuzzy, compliant. He changed the subject. I met with the realtor about the house. We'll get a great price. The market is hot. He was carving up my life for parts while I still breathed in the room. Sell what you want, I said, a small smile touching my lips. It's just paper. He mistook my calm for senility. He patted my hand again, the patronizing touch of a victor. He didn't stay long. He had meetings. He had a life to spend my money on. The letter came to David a week later, certified, from Charles's firm. I knew because Anya intercepted the nursing home's mail log. She read me the entry, legal correspondence, Weston and Gray, addressed to David Vane. The first domino had fallen. David exploded into my room 2 days later. He didn't knock. He threw the door open so hard it hit the wall. His face was mottled red, a vein throbbing in his temple. In his hand, he clutched Charles's letter like it was a live snake. "What is this?" he snarled, his polished veneer shattered. "What the hell is this, Mother?" I was sitting by the window watching a bird build a nest. I turned slowly. "Language, David. This is a place of care." "Care?" He spat the word. "You're trying to destroy me. This codicil, this trust. You lied to me. You tricked a vulnerable woman into signing away her rights. That's fraud. The codicil is valid. The trust is active. You own nothing." He stared at me, truly seeing me for the first time in years, not as his mother, not as an old woman, as an opponent. The hatred in his eyes was a beautiful, honest thing. It was the first honest emotion he'd shown me in a decade. "You can't do this," he whispered, but the fight was leaking out of him, replaced by a dawning, chilling comprehension. "It's already done," I said. Then I delivered the second blow, gently, precisely. "You should meet your new sister," I said. "Anya, come in, dear." Anya had been waiting in the hall. She entered, her nurse's scrubs crisp, her posture straight. She stood beside my chair, a hand on my shoulder, a united front. David looked from her to me. "What is this?" "Anya Petrova, soon to be Anya Vane. I'm adopting her. She'll be my legal daughter, my heir." The silence that followed was absolute. It was the sound of a world ending. His world. His face went from red to a sickly white. What? You can't. She's a nurse, a stranger. This is insane. I'll fight this. I'll have you declared incompetent." The judge already has the competency reports from 2 independent physicians, paid for by the trust. I scored remarkably high, higher than you did on your LSATs, if I recall. He flinched. I had never thrown his failures in his face before. It was a new weapon. I found I liked it. "This is a sick joke," he whispered, backing toward the door. "You're a sick old woman." "And you," I said, my voice dropping to a whisper that cut through the room, "are a son who put his mother in a home to steal her money. The court will find that interesting. The press will find it fascinating." The threat hung in the air. Public ruin, legal war. He was outgunned, and he knew it. He left without another word. The door closed softly this time, not a slam, a retreat. The next morning his lawyer called. Not Charles, a new one, a pit bull named Henderson. Charles patched him through to the phone in my room. "Mrs. Vane, this is highly unorthodox. We are prepared to file motions to block this adoption. We will allege undue influence, coercion." "File what you want," I said. "My attorney has video from the hallway camera outside my room. It has audio. It captured David yelling at me, threatening me. It captured his confession to the fraudulent will. Would you like me to play it for you?" The silence on the other end was sweeter than any music. The nursing home security system, which I had quietly funded an upgrade for through the trust last week, had just become my greatest witness. Henderson hung up. We didn't celebrate. We planned. With Charles on speakerphone, we executed the next phase. I transferred the title of the house into the trust, then designated it as a specific gift to Anya upon the adoption's finalization. We moved the business accounts. We changed the beneficiaries on everything. Each click of Charles's keyboard was a nail in David's financial coffin. David tried one more time. He came at night. He must have thought the darkness would give him power.
He slipped past the front desk, but he didn't know about the new motion sensors I'd had installed in my hallway. He was outside my door when Anya stepped from the shadows, a can of pepper spray in her hand, her phone recording. "Visiting hours are over, Mr. Vane. You need to leave or I will call the police and have you arrested for trespassing and attempted intimidation of a vulnerable adult." He looked at her, this woman who had been a servant in his mind, now standing as a guardian, a heir, a sister. The reality of his defeat crashed down on him. His shoulders slumped, the fight left him in a rush. He looked past her, through the glass in the door, and met my eyes. I gave him nothing. Not anger, not sadness, nothing. He turned and walked away. For the last time. The adoption hearing was a formality. The judge, a sharp-eyed woman in her 60s, reviewed the file. She saw the financial exploitation. She saw the care I'd received from Anya. She saw the stability offered. She banged her gavel. Petition granted. Just like that, Anya Petrova became my daughter. We walked out of the courthouse together. The sun was bright. Anya held my arm, not as a nurse supporting a patient, but as a daughter steadying her mother. "What now, Mom?" she asked. The word was tentative, a gift. I took a breath of free air. Now we go home. We drove to my house, our house. David's things were in boxes on the porch. The locks had been changed. He was already gone, a ghost, banished. Anya helped me up the steps to the porch I'd built with Robert. She fit the new key into the lock. It turned with a solid, satisfying click. We stepped inside. The house was quiet. It was waiting. It was ours. I had been thrown away, discarded, left to rot. But from the rot, I had grown a new daughter. I had reclaimed my legacy. I had turned my final chapter into a story of triumph. The old woman had won, the nurse had a family, and the son who put his mother in a nursing home had nothing but the emptiness he tried to give to me. Justice was not a fire. It was a key in a lock, a door.
Home smelled different. Not of lemon cleaner and despair. It smelled of wood polish and old books and the ghost of Robert's pipe tobacco. It smelled of mine. Anya guided me to my own armchair by the fireplace, the same indentation in the cushion from 40 years of sitting. David hadn't even bothered to move it. He'd just taken my space and left the shape of me behind. Anya moved through the rooms like a quiet storm. She opened windows. She made tea. She did not treat the house like a museum or a trophy. She treated it like a home, our home. She called me Mom without hesitation now. The word had shed its novelty. It was a fact. David's boxes sat on the porch for 3 days. I watched them through the window, a pathetic monument to his failure. On the 4th morning, they were gone. He hadn't come for them. He'd sent someone in the night, a coward's retreat. That was fine. I didn't want to see his face again. The first letter arrived a week later. It wasn't from David. It was from his new wife, Celeste, a name that sounded like a disease. Her handwriting was all sharp angles and perfumed ink. "Margaret, what you have done is monstrous. You have broken your son's heart and torn apart this family for a gold-digging stranger. We are destitute because of you. David is a shadow. I beg you, see reason. Reverse this madness. For the sake of the family you are destroying. Celeste." I showed it to Anya. She read it, her face impassive. "She calls me a gold digger," she said, not with hurt, but with cold analysis. "She married David 6 months after he put you in the home. She picked out the nursing home. She chose the cheapest one." I hadn't known that. The cold in my chest deepened. "What else do you know?" She listened. She said simply, "When they thought I was just staff, she talked about the house, the art, the investments. She had plans.
Of course she did. David had found a predator just like himself. They deserved each other. I wrote a reply. One sentence. You live in the ruin you built. Do not contact me again. I had Charles send it on his firm's letterhead, a legal warning shot. The piece lasted a month, a beautiful, quiet month of Anya studying for her final nursing exams at my dining table, of me rebuilding my strength, walking the garden paths Robert had laid. We were healing. We were a family. Then the call came, not to me, to Anya. She answered her phone in the kitchen, her back to me. I heard her say, "No." Then, "That is not true." Then she was silent for a long time, listening. When she hung up, her knuckles were white on the countertop. "That was the State Board of Nursing," she said, her voice hollow. "An anonymous complaint. They allege I engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a patient for financial gain. They allege I coerced a vulnerable adult. They have opened an investigation. My licensure is suspended pending review." The air left the room. David. It had to be. He couldn't attack the adoption, so he was attacking her, her career, her future, her identity. "They will interview you," Anya said, turning to me. Her eyes were scared. This was her life's work. "They will try to make you say I manipulated you." I stood up. My legs felt strong. Let them try. The investigator came 2 days later, a pinched woman with a clipboard and skeptical eyes, Ms. Gable. She sat in my living room and did not accept tea. "Miss Vane, we need to discuss your relationship with Ms. Petrova. The circumstances of your adoption are highly unusual." "My name is Anya Vane," Anya corrected softly from beside me. "She is my mother." Ms. Gable ignored her. "Mrs. Vane, were you aware of Ms. Petrova's financial situation before she began caring for you?" "I'm aware of it now," I said. "I am her mother. I know my daughter sends money to her family in Ukraine. I know she works tirelessly. These are qualities I admire." "Did she ever discuss your finances, your estate?" "I discussed them with her. I asked her to help me understand the fraud my son was committing. She provided comfort and clarity when my own flesh and blood provided theft and lies." Her handwriting hesitated. "Your son alleges you are not of sound mind to make these decisions." I smiled. It was a thin, sharp smile. "Would you like to see my recent cognitive assessment? Administered by a neurologist my son does not pay for? I scored in the 98th percentile for my age, higher than my son scored on his bar exam, I believe." Anya handed Ms. Gable the report. Charles had arranged it. It was 12 pages of devastating clarity. Ms. Gable scanned it. Her demeanor changed. The skepticism hardened into something else. Professional caution. She was realizing she was not interviewing a confused old woman. She was interviewing a strategist. She pressed, but the force was gone from her voice. "The complaint states you were unduly influenced." "The complaint is from the man who stole my checkbook and tried to sell my house while I was locked away." I slid a spreadsheet across the coffee table. "Police reports, bank fraud affidavits filed by my attorney. Would you like the case numbers?" Ms. Gable did not touch the file. She stood. "I have what I need." After she left, Anya sank into a chair. "She didn't believe me," she said. "I could see it." "It doesn't matter what she believes," I said. "It matters what the evidence proves. And we have all of it. He has nothing but lies." But David wasn't finished. His next move was lower, deeper. A social media post appeared. On a local community page, a photo of Anya, in her scrubs, taken secretly in the nursing home hallway. The caption read, "Does anyone know this nurse? She convinced a frail old woman in Silver Springs to adopt her and sign over her entire life savings. The family is devastated. Is this legal? Hashtag elder abuse. Hashtag scam." The comments were a torrent of bile. Gold digger, Predator. Disgusting. She should be deported. Anya read them that night, her face pale in the glow of her laptop. She said nothing, but a single tear traced down her cheek. This was the wound David wanted to inflict. Not legal, not financial. Humiliation. Erosion. I took the laptop from her. I closed it. "Get your coat," I said. "Where are we going?" "To the bank." It was after hours, but Charles had called ahead. The manager let us into the vault. My safe deposit box. I hadn't opened it since Robert died. Inside were not just deeds and bonds. There was a smaller, older box. I opened it. Inside was a pearl necklace, my mother's, a stack of love letters from Robert, and a USB drive. I handed the drive to Anya. "This is the security system backup from the first 5 years we owned Vane & Co. Robert was paranoid. Audio and video on every square inch of that office." We went home. We plugged it into the computer. We searched by date. The month David graduated college, the month he came to work for us. We found it. A meeting in Robert's office. David's voice, young, arrogant. "The books are fat, Dad. Ripe. We could divert the commercial rental profits through a shell company. No one would ever know. Use the money to buy the waterfront lots. Then we sell the lots back to the company on a markup. It's clean." Robert's voice, tired, disappointed. "That's embezzlement, David. It's fraud. Get out of my office. You're fired." Anya looked at me. "You had this the whole time?" "I forgot," I said honestly. "Grief makes you forget, but being betrayed makes you remember." I didn't send it to the nursing board. I didn't send it to the police. I had Charles send a single email to David. The subject line, "Audio file 2012. The body was empty except for one sentence. "The next post you make about my daughter results in this file going to the district attorney. The statute of limitations has not run out." The social media post vanished within the hour. The account was deleted. The silence that followed was not peaceful. It was the silence of a predator slinking back into the shadows, wounded. He knew I had the teeth he'd forgotten about. He knew the old woman in the nursing home was a fiction. The woman in this house was real, and she would destroy him. Anya's licensing suspension was lifted the next week. No explanation. Just a terse email. Complaint unfounded. That night, we sat by the fire, the real fire, in my own fireplace. "It's over," Anya said, but it wasn't a question. "For now," I said. "But we have what matters. We have this. We have each other." She took my hand. "I will take care of you, Mom. For real. Not like a nurse. Like a daughter." "I know," I said. And for the first time since the door locked at Silver Springs, I believed
The quiet after a war is a living thing. It breathes. It watches. For 2 months, the silence held. No letters, no calls, no lawyers at the door. David had retreated, licking the wounds from the teeth he'd forgotten I had. The house settled around Anya and me like a fortress, warm and solid. She passed her final nursing boards. The license arrived in a formal envelope. She framed it and hung it in the hallway, right next to Robert's old real estate license. 2 professionals, a family business. I thought the fight was truly over. I was wrong. The final battle wasn't about money or law. It was about blood. It started with a dream. Not my dream, Anya's. I heard her cry out in the night, a short, sharp sound of terror from the room down the hall, the room that had been David's. I found her sitting bolt upright in bed, her face slick with cold sweat, her eyes wide in the moonlight. "He was here," she whispered. "In the dream, he had a key." "It was a dream," I said, sitting beside her,
the way I had for David when he was small and afraid of thunderstorms. It felt real, she breathed. He was smiling. He said, "It's still my house, Mother." A chill, separate from the night air, crept up my spine. It wasn't a premonition. It was a warning from her subconscious, sharper than any lawyer's letter. The next afternoon, while Anya was at the market, the doorbell rang. Not the aggressive buzz of a process server, a polite, hesitant chime. I looked through the peephole. A young woman stood there, maybe 25, well-dressed. She had David's eyes, my eyes. My heart stopped. Then it hammered against my ribs. I opened the door. The woman offered a tentative smile. "Grandma Margaret?" I didn't speak. I couldn't. "I'm Chloe, David's daughter, your granddaughter." The word landed like a physical blow. I had a granddaughter. David had a child he had never mentioned, not once in all the years of his neglect, his greed, his final betrayal. He had kept her from me, the ultimate theft. "May I come in?" she asked, her voice softening with what looked like genuine nerves. I stepped back, let her enter my home, our home. She looked around, not with greed, but with a kind of wistful curiosity. "He never told you about me, did he?" she said, reading my silence. "I'm not surprised. My mom, Celeste, they split up when I was a baby. He wasn't really in the picture. Mom told me stories about you, though, about the business you built. She said you were fierce." "Why are you here, Chloe?" My voice sounded like gravel. She twisted her hands. "He sent me." The chill from Anya's dream crystallized into ice in my veins. "He's sick," she said, and now her eyes welled with tears that seemed real. "Really sick, Grandma. Leukemia. The treatments, they've wiped him out financially. What you did with the trust, he has nothing left. He's going to lose his apartment. He can't work." She took a shaky breath. "He's sorry. So sorry for everything. He's too ashamed to face you. He sent me to ask, to beg, for help. Not for him, for me. He says he doesn't want me to watch him die in a charity ward." I studied her face. The tears were perfect. The story was flawless. A dying son, a sympathetic granddaughter, a final plea for mercy. It was a masterpiece of emotional manipulation. David's final, most brilliant play. He wasn't attacking the will. He was attacking the heart. "Where is he?" I asked. "St. Jude's, oncology wing, room 414. I nodded slowly. "I need to thank Chloe. Can you come back tomorrow?" Hope brightened her face. "Of course. Thank you, Grandma. Just thank you for listening." She left a scent of youthful perfume lingering where the smell of disinfectant used to haunt me. When Anya came home, I told her everything. She listened, her face hardening into a mask of protective fury. "It's a lie. It has to be." "We need to be sure," I said. Anya, the nurse, made the calls to St. Jude's, to contacts she still had. Within an hour, she had her answer. Her face was pale when she hung up. "Room 414 is occupied by David Vane. Admitted 3 days ago. Diagnosis, acute myeloid leukemia. The treatment protocol is aggressive. The costs are catastrophic. His insurance lapsed months ago." The room swayed. It was true. The one thing I never expected. It wasn't a trick. It was a tragedy. Anya saw my shock. She came to me, knelt before my chair. "Mom, listen to me. Even if it's true, it doesn't change what he did. It doesn't undo the lock on the door, the fraud, the cruelty. Sickness is not a redemption coupon." I knew she was right, but the image wouldn't leave my mind. My boy, sick, dying, alone in a hospital bed. "I have to see," I whispered. "No," Anya said, her voice fierce. "He doesn't get to do this to you. Not again." "He's not doing it," I said, the realization dawning with cold clarity. "The universe is, and I need to look him in the eye one last time." We went to the hospital the next morning. Anya came with me, my protector, my daughter. We didn't announce ourselves. We just went to the 4th floor to room 414. The door was ajar. I looked in. He was in the bed. It was him, but hollowed out. His skin was the color of old paper. His hair was gone. Tubes ran from his arms. His eyes were closed. Chloe was there, sitting by the bed, holding his hand. She looked up and saw us. She gave a sad, small smile and nodded, then slipped out of the room, leaving us alone. I stood at the foot of the bed. Anya stood just behind my shoulder, a silent sentinel. David's eyes fluttered open. It took a moment for them to focus. When they landed on me, they widened, not with joy, but with shock, then with a shame so deep it seemed to swallow him whole. "Mother," his voice was a dry rasp. I said nothing. I just looked at the ruin of the child I had carried, loved, and lost. I didn't think you'd come," he whispered. "Chloe came," I said, my voice steady. She asked me. Tears filled his sunken eyes. They were real. The first real tears I'd seen from him since he was a boy who'd skinned his knee. "I'm so sorry," he choked out, "for all of it. I was weak, greedy. I thought money was the scorecard. I was wrong. I am so sorry." I believed him. In the face of his own extinction, the lies had burned away. What was left was a terrified, regretful man, my son. "The treatment," he gasped, "it's too late for me. But the debt, it will bury Chloe. She doesn't deserve that. She's a good kid. Please, don't help me. I don't deserve it. But help her." I looked at his pleading face. I looked at the medical machinery keeping him alive. I thought of the lock on the door, the stolen will, the years of silence. I turned to Anya. Her jaw was clenched, her eyes blazing. She shook her head, a tiny, fierce movement. "Don't!" I looked back at my dying son. I reached into my purse. I pulled out my checkbook. I didn't write it to him. I wrote it to St. Jude's Hospital. In the memo line, I wrote, "For the care of David Vane." I filled in an amount, not enough to clear his debt, enough to give him dignity, enough to ensure his daughter wouldn't start her life with the burden of his medical ruin. It was a substantial number. It was nothing to me now. I tore it out. I didn't hand it to him. I placed it on the bedside table next to a cup of melting ice chips. "This is not forgiveness," I said, my voice clear in the sterile quiet. "This is closure. You are my son. This is the last thing I will ever do for you." His tears fell freely now. He tried to speak, but no words came. I turned and walked out of the room. Anya followed me, her arm linking with mine in the hallway, holding me upright. We did not speak until we were in the car, away from the smell of sickness and regret. "You are a better person than I am," Anya said quietly, staring straight ahead. "No?" I said, watching the hospital grow smaller in the rearview mirror. "I am a mother, and today I finally put that part of myself to rest." We drove home, to our home. The check was not a victory. It was a funeral for the last ghost of the son I once knew. The war was finally, truly over, not with a bang of revenge, but with the quiet, costly mercy of a woman who had nothing left to prove and a heart that chose to end its own suffering by releasing the last of its poison. I had adopted a daughter out of strength. I had buried a son with mercy. And in the space that was left, there was only peace. The check cleared. The hospital called to thank me for the extraordinary gift. I did not take the call. I had said my goodbye in that sterile room. The transaction was complete. Mercy, I had learned, could be a transaction, too. Clean, finite. Anya watched me for days after, waiting for the collapse, the grief, the regret. It never came. What settled in me was lighter, a quiet severance. The last thread binding me to the son I'd raised had been cut, not with anger, but with a surgeon's precision. The phantom limb no longer ached. Weeks passed. Then the official letter arrived from the hospital administrator. David Vane had passed at 4:17 a.m., peacefully. The letter included a note from Chloe, folded neatly inside. Thank you for giving him peace at the end. He talked about you. He said he hoped you were happy in your house with your new daughter. I hope so too. I showed it to Anya. She read it, her face unreadable. Do you believe him? That he said that? It doesn't matter what he said, and I realized I meant it. It only matters what we do now. We did not attend the funeral. There was no service to attend, according to Chloe's subsequent letter. He had asked to be cremated quietly. No fanfare. He had run out of audience. Anya looked up, surprised. That's not standard practice. Robert and I didn't build this company on standard practice. We built it on understanding that buildings hold people's dreams. Sometimes dreams need a little grace. She smiled then, a real smile that transformed her face. Okay. In that moment, I saw it. The future, not just of the company, but of my name. It would be in her hands, and it would be kind. It would be right. The opposite of everything David had stood for. A month later, Chloe called. She asked if she could visit, just to talk. Anya tensed, but I said yes. She came for tea. She was a quiet, earnest young woman, carrying the weight of a complicated father. She didn't ask for anything. She talked about her job, her life. She asked about Robert, about the business. She listened with a respect David never had. When she left, she hugged me. It was awkward, but genuine. He was wrong, you know, about everything. Thank you for seeing me anyway. After she left, Anya said, "She's not like him." No, I agreed. She's what he could have been. Maybe what he was before the greed ate him alive. That night, I asked Anya to follow me to the study. I opened the safe, not the one for documents, the small wall safe behind the painting of the Scottish Highlands Robert loved. Inside was a velvet box. I handed it to her. Open it. She did. Inside was my mother's emerald ring, the one I'd worn every day of my marriage, the one I'd taken off and hidden the day David moved me to Silver Springs, knowing he'd pawn it for a weekend's pleasure. Mom, I can't. I said, you can. You are my daughter, in every way that matters, more than blood, more than law. You are the daughter of my heart, my chosen heir. This is yours. With trembling hands, she took it out. She slipped it onto her finger. It fit perfectly. It's beautiful, she breathed. It's a promise that this family, this legacy continues with honor. The final piece fell into place the next week. Charles came to the house. He had the updated will for me to sign. It left everything to Anya in perpetuity and included a clause creating a scholarship in Robert's name for nursing students. It also included a small separate trust for Chloe, enough for a down payment on a home, accessible when she turned 30. No strings, just a seed. I signed without hesitation. The pen felt light. Charles witnessed it, his eyes soft. Robert would have been proud of you, Ellie. Robert always said you had the strongest moral compass he'd ever known. He was biased, I said, but I felt the truth of it. After Charles left, Anya and I sat on the porch as the sun set. The sky blazed orange and purple over the garden Robert had planted for me. Are you afraid, I asked her, of all this responsibility? She looked at the ring on her finger, then at the sprawling house, the gardens, the weight of the future in her lap. "No," she said, and her voice was sure, "because I'm not alone. I have my mother to guide me." She took my hand. Our hands, young and old, smooth and lined, were clasped together. A pact, a lineage. My son dumped me in a nursing home to die forgotten. He thought he was burying me. Instead, he unburied me. He forced me to shed the skin of a passive mother and become the architect of my own life one last time. In that cold room, I chose a new daughter. In this warm house, I built a new family. The revenge was not in taking everything from him. The revenge was in building something beautiful without him. The revenge was in thriving, in loving, in passing on a legacy of strength and grace to a worthy soul. The light faded. The first stars appeared. I was not in room 14. I was home. I was loved. I had won the only victory that ever truly mattered. I had written my own ending, and it was good.